Let's start. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for joining today's session. So we have been discussing, last week we started discussing from the 7th verse of Manah Siksha. So we just started discussing Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bhajana Darpan commentary. So we will continue that discussion today. But before that, I'll request Radha Pramod Prabhu to please do his recap, and after that we will continue our discussion.
Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnana-janashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami iti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirviseshunyavadi Paschatya Devasthanam. So we are discussing Manah Siksha, verse number 7. This is very interesting verse. It is in the sequence of what are the subtle anarthas from gross to subtle anarthas. It is the last one in the anarthas. So the translation goes as follows: as long as the unchaste dog-eating woman of desire for prestige dances in my heart, how can the chaste and pure lady of love for Krishna touch it? Therefore, O mind, you should always serve the incomparable beloved devotee commander of Krishna's army, who will immediately throw out the unchaste woman and establish the pure lady of love in the heart. So, Pratisthasha, desire for prestige. It is a subtlest layer of anartha. Now, the person, after he has crossed the anartha nivritti stage, he has reached a very good position, and he want that people should recognize him for what he have achieved, not that he didn't achieve. In the there is a mentality to cheat, but a person comes to this stage. This is much more settler. When he has crossed even the anartha stage, then he want people to recognize me, and he want people to appreciate, should give him respect, should understand how he is advanced. So this pujala pratishtha is there. This desire for pratishtha has this is compared to an unchaste dog-eating woman. So this is the stage he deserve it, but still to think that I want it, that is also compared, because bhakti is so subtle. What Maharaj was telling previously, that even slightest thing, because the definition is what we are reaching is very highest. So even slightest thing also is compared to in a very heavy way. So then one may have overcome gross and subtle anarthas, but the problem is to think that people should give me respect and deserve. I have actually become advanced and overcome all gross and subtle anarthas. Why are people not recognizing me? He deserves. So actually, he's expecting to get what he deserves is rightfully, and he's not any hypocrite, because in hypocrisy he's expecting which he does not deserve. But in Pratisthasha, the expecting respect which one deserves only, and he is right in the sense that he want respect. But what is wrong in this is wanting that respect, because in wanting that respect he is closing the door to Krishna prem. Means still there is something that is stopping from the heart to experience that prema. So there is something hard in it. So to experience Krishna prema, you have to make it further more softer. So what is the problem with Pratisthasha? As long as this unchaste dog-eating woman is dancing in my heart, how is it possible for the chaste and pure sadhu prem to dance in my heart. So sadhu prem is, there are three things. Prema for Krishna that sadhu has in heart. That cannot be understood as long as this pratisthasha is there. And prema that sadhu, he is showing to me. So he has some prema for me, that also I cannot see. And how much I potentially have prema for sadhu, that also I cannot experience because of pratisthasha. And the solution that is given by Raghunath Das Goswami is, my dear mind, you should always serve the incomparable beloved devotee commander of Krishna's army, serving very exalted devotees. That's what we have to do. That is the solution. What happens? Why we should do? The exalted devotees will drive away this dog-eating woman and will establish Shuddha Prem within the heart. So as soon as we give up this desire for prestige, the door for Krishna Prem opens. Now, this is what Raghunath Das Goswami said on this Bhaktivinoda Thakur's Bhajan Darpan commentaries. Why is it that deceit still lingers in the heart despite one's having given up all material sense enjoyment? So this verse has been compared in order to answer this question, composed in order to answer this question. So again, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains what is this. Drishta Swapacha Ramani Pratisthasha. The desire for prestige is an unchaste dog eating man. This is the first point. So he's explaining what is this Pratishtha. Desire or hope for honor. And this nourishes and generates other form of deceit. And unless one gives up this, it is not possible to give up kapata, kutinati, etc. in the long run. Again, it may again rise to the whatever anarthas which he has given up. And drishta is shameless, unchaste. This desire for honor is the root of all other anarthas, but since it is never able to recognize its own fault, it is shameless. Because people who have it, he cannot know it. Others will see it, he cannot see himself. Swapacha Ramani's fame is like dog flesh, and one who is eager for such fame is dog eating woman. So very heavy language. And desire for pratishtha demonstrated by three sadhakas. So this also we have seen in previous shloka also. There are swanishta, parinishta and nirapeksha. So swanishta, householder with no obligation to set exam does not perform varnashram duties. But for him, what is this pratishtasa? Want to become renowned as religious, benevolent and sinless person. And pratishtha for parinishta sadhakas is hope to be known as devotee of Vishnu, as a knower of spiritual subject matters and as detached. And whereas Nirapeksha, this Pratishtashara comes in the form of want to be known as spotless and renowned, as a master of conclusions of Shastras and as having a perfect understanding of devotion. And second point is uh, Suchir Sadhu Prema, pure love of God. So what is this love? Rupa Goswami gives the definition. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur first explains. He gives the definition of love. Love is what when bhava becomes extremely condensed. It is called prema by the learned. It softens the heart completely. So this is very important. Softens the heart completely and produces extreme possessiveness of the Lord in the experience. Now, only when the desire for pratishtha is cast away, one's heart becomes softened. So, if we want to experience love, we have to give up pratishtha, then it becomes soft. So, the third point is Prabhu Dhaita Atula Samanta. So, this is powerful, incomparable commanders of Sri Krishna. They are Samantas. So, who are the Prabhu Dhaita? A perfect devotee of Krishna. Atula is special, incomparable. Samanta is commander of an army. So this is a devotee of Krishna, special devotee, commander in chief, like commander of army. If we dedicate our life in serving a perfected devotee of Lord, then we can overcome pratishtha. So how it happens is when we engage in service of such an exalted devotee, then we don't want that how can we accept pratishtha for ourselves? I am serving him. I want him to get some praises or appreciation he should get. So we want to be under him. So we don't want to take anything for us. And what happens? The rays of Lord's internal pleasure potency are always reflected in the heart of such pure devotees. This potency can very easily flow and accumulate in the heart of another individual, which will cast away any misgiving and help pure love to grow there. So what are how that mercy potency flows from a pure devotee? By his embrace, the dust from their lotus feet, Mahaprasad, and his instructions. So now the Pratisthasha, we know how danger it is, and immediately the solution is also given. The solution is we need the mercy of a very pure devotee who is a commander-in-chief. So then same thing to make the point, Lord Shiva's shloka is quoted where he says, of all the worships, worship of Lord Vishnu is best, and more than that is worship of which is connected to Lord Vishnu, worship of Vaishnavas. So by service to the devotees, intense rasa of bhava bhakti to the Lord appears. So this is problem and solution. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, bro. Thank you very much. Very nice recap. If not left much for me to recap here. So let us start. I will. So we last week we did do a recap of the first 6 verses before we started the 7th verse. We did see that first instruction. In the first instruction, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami is instructing us that please become willing to give up your material designations. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam, which he indicates by the word sadadambam hitva. And then is that start developing your spiritual designations, which is to establish a very loving relationship with things, people, and places connected to Krishna, which he says Gurau, Goshte, Goshtala, Ishu, and so on. Those 8 things. So then he says, for accomplishing that, you should have a change of your paradigm of thinking, feeling, willing, right? So you can't think in terms of likes and dislikes, and you can't think in terms of what is dharma, what is adharma, and so on. You have to come to the paradigm of what is anukul for my bhakti and what is pratikul for my bhakti, what is anukul for pleasing Guru and Krishna, and what would be pratikul for pleasing Guru and Krishna. So we should develop this, we should shift to this paradigm, okay? And if we want to establish a relationship with Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan, and if you want to establish a relationship with Radha and Krishna and Vrindavan, you should also understand that that can happen only through establishing a relationship with Guru and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahi Anya, they are non-different, and our connection with Radha and Krishna can happen only through the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And also Guru, the relationship with Guru is very pivotal, because Guru is the one who is um, uh, Guruvaram Mukunda Preshtatve. So Guru, one should understand, is the dearmost, one should see the Guru as the dearmost servant of Radha and Krishna. So therefore he is going to connect us lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. Therefore worship of Guru and worship of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are absolutely pivotal in establishing our relationship with Radha and Krishna. Then we saw that in the 3rd verse, he talks about if you want to progress on this path and reach Goloka Vrindavan, you have to be chaste to the parampara. Chastity to the parampara is described. Okay, so Swarupam Shri Rupam Saganamiha Tasya Grajamapi Sputam Premna Nityam Smaranama Tadatvam Shrunumana. He says, if you want to stay in Vrindavan and worship Radha and Krishna in a mood similar to the Brajavasis, that which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give, then it is possible only through the writings of Swarup Damodar Goswami, Shri Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and their followers, and by no other means. So if we are searching elsewhere, you will land up elsewhere. you will not land up at the place where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give, which is Vrindavan. Okay. Then starting from the fourth verse onwards, he talks about, how do you tackle the anarthas from the grossest to the subtlest. He says three basic things which we have to consciously avoid: asadvarta, muktikata, and Lakshmi Patiratim. So he says that don't indulge in prajalpa. And this is one understanding. Another understanding is asadvarta also refers to don't indulge in activities which will increase your thirst for material enjoyment, which is atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha laulyam cha shadbir bhaktir vinashati. So consciously try to avoid them. This is avoidance of sadvarta. Then mukti kata. Don't read too many literatures which glorify mukti, or don't read any literatures which just glorify mukti. You should be reading literatures which glorify, because if you get attracted to mukti, then it will make us so selfishly absorbed that it will completely stunt that desire to become a servant of Krishna, which is the soul's natural constitutional position. And then the third thing that he says is, look, it is not wrong to worship the other forms of the Lord, but your attachment should be to worship Radha and Krishna only. So give up those activities which will enhance Lakshmi Pati Rati. Okay, which means you may think that, oh, actually, you know what, in our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya or in ISKCON, people don't speak katha so nicely, but you see in this other Sampradaya, people speak so wonderful katha. So I will hear katha from there and chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So this is something, unfortunately, this happens much more than what we can imagine. So people keep hearing, it may be from bona fide speakers from other sampradaya, which may essentially enhance their attraction for other forms of the Lord, which is not wrong. It is not like developing attraction towards demigods, certainly not. But just that it very subtly flavors our faith in a very, very different way. And it's not very conducive, right? So therefore he says, be careful about Lakshmi Patirati. This he says very gross. So which means if you are chaste, if you are following the second step, if you are chastely hearing from our Acharya's writings, then I can actually avoid this Lakshmi Patirati. That problem will certainly be solved. Then he says there are subtler anarthas. You may endeavor and overcome these gross anarthas, but there are subtler anarthas: lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride, which are compared to the highway robbers, which bind the neck of the traveler who is the sadhaka through activities, through wicked activities which are driven by these six anarthas. So the solution for this is association of devotees. Gale badva hanyeham iti bakabin patmapagane kurum futkaran avati sayatatvam manayita. He says, cry out for devotees association, which means learn to establish loving relationships with devotees so that whenever you are in trouble, you can immediately, without any hesitation, call them for help. Okay. And then another understanding, we saw multiple understandings, but another understanding is that always stay in association so that the so that when you're alone, you don't get tempted. When you're in association, the strength to fight the anarthas is there, and also in association, your senses and mind will have constant engagement in Krishna's service. But if you are not in association, the mind can cheat us. Okay. So this is the grosser, the subtler obstacles of the six anarthas. then if one may reasonably overcome, these anarthas, but still one may suffer due to the problem of kutinati, kapatata and kutinati, hypocrisy, duplicity, and um, hypocrisy, duplicity, and deceit, which is compared to taking bath in a trickling donkey's urine. So he says that why you want to burn yourself, O mind, and why you want to burn me, the soul, by succumbing to this kapata kutinati. Okay. So what is the solution for this? The solution, he says, is sadatvam gandharva giridari pada prema vilasat sudambodau snatva. Learn to take bath in the nectarian ocean of which emanates from the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna, which means learn to offer prayers, and learn to glorify, learn to come in front of the deities and present your fallen state. When we cultivate this habit, when this is cultivated consciously, that I will spend time offering my prayers, glorifying Radha and Krishna, I will spend time, expressing my fallen state, and I will spend time praying for mercy. So when we consciously keep doing it, coming in front of the deities and offering prayers, coming in front of Harinam Prabhu and offering prayers, if we make it a habit to glorify the Lord, expressing our fallen position and offering prayers, then by constantly taking bath in, this is compared to the nectar emanating from the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. By taking bath in this nectar, one can overcome the burning sensation which is caused due to deceit, duplicity, and hypocrisy. Okay. So then last week we started the 7th verse, where we will chant this verse once. Pratishta sha drishta shwapacha ramani me hridi nate katam sadhu prema sprishati shuchiretan nanumana sadat sevasva prabudayita samantamatulam yatatam nishkasya tvaritamih tam veshayati saha. So he says, drishta shwapacha ramani, as long as this unchaste dog-eating woman of pratishta asha, desire for prestige, like we saw, that this is still more subtler. We may have almost overcome even the problems of hypocrisy, because hypocrisy and duplicity is when there are traces of the past anarthas. We may have significantly overcome lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride, but still traces may be there. But we may not want others to know that I am suffering in this way. So that's where hypocrisy comes. And even if we have significantly overcome hypocrisy, when further purification happens of lust, anger, envy, greed, then we don't have much to hide from others, because fairly good purification has happened. But still, the desire for recognition, I am an advanced devotee, why are you not able to recognize? That desire may be there. But as long as that desire is there, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami says, Katam sadhu prema sprushati etan nanumana. How is it possible for sadhu prema to touch that heart? So we saw 3 meanings of sadhu prema. The love that the sadhu has for Krishna, that love we will not be able to get. As long as this pratishta asha is there, we are shutting the doors on sadhu prema. And the second meaning of sadhu prema is, the sadhu has so much affection and compassion on me, but I will not be able to access it. I will not be able to see how much this sadhu has affection towards me, as long as I am consumed by this desire for honor, prestige, glorification for myself. And the third meaning of sadhu prema is uh, how much I have potential to love and serve a sadhu. I will never be able to realize it as long as my heart is consumed by I want prestige, I want people should recognize me, that desire for recognition. As long as it is burning, it is very difficult. What is the solution? He says, sadatvam sevasva prabudayita samanta matulam. You should always, the solution to overcome this is put yourself under the service of a very advanced devotee. Put yourself under the service of a very advanced devotee. And what that advanced devotee will do is that he will enter your heart and kick out this pratishta asha and install that sadhu prema in your heart. So simple, serve devotees, serve very advanced devotees. So when we serve the advanced devotees and become absorbed in that service, the desire for having prestige for oneself slowly goes away by the mercy of that devotee. So then we started discussing Bhajan Darpan commentary where shlokartha, where what is this Drishta Shopacharamani, which is Pratishta Asha. We saw this. Okay. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, as long as this Pratishta Asha is there, it can anytime attract back the grosser anarthas. Because it's a very complex cycle. When the desire for prestige is not there and you don't get it, we may become offensive. And when offense comes, then all the other grosser anarthas also follow the offensive mentality, right? So as long as this root of all this, the desire for prestige is not rooted out, it can anytime attract, the kapata kutinati, and then it can also attract lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride, and it may push us into still grosser anarthas of, indulging in mundane talk, lust, and so on. Okay, so. And this is compared to shameless. Drishta means shameless. Why is it? Why is this desire for honor shameless? Because we can never recognize our own fault. Because uh, because I feel I deserve it. We are always on the platform of justice. Look, I deserve it. You are not giving it to me. Where is the justice? We may feel like that, but bhakti is the path of mercy, and it is not the path of justice. So as long as we don't um, as long as we don't recognize this, because justice means it's right, but on the path of bhakti, seeking justice for oneself is also not the highest platform, even though in the material world seeking justice is glorified. You become a hero if you are fighting for justice. But in bhakti, it is a big time obstacle actually. So, and especially if you are fighting for justice for, see, look, I am fighting for what I deserve. So we may deserve prestige, but actually then we become undeserving of mercy. So, so this is shameless because we are not able to recognize our fault. So fame is like the dog flesh, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. And one who is very eager for such fame is compared to a dog eater, like that. So then we saw that how this pratishta asha, this desire for fame and honor, manifests in these three types of devotees, Swanishta, Parinishthita, and Nirapeksha. So we saw this. Like you want to be known as a very austere person, you want to be known as a very advanced devotee, very learned in Shastras and so on. So as long as one maintains such desire for honor, eventually it will attract deceit and other things, and then it becomes very difficult. So then we saw Rupa Goswami's definition of what is the sadhu prema. We saw the definition of prema, and then he says that this pratishta asha actually makes the heart hard, but prema tries to make the heart soft. Okay, so when the desire for pratishta is thrown away, then the heart quickly starts becoming soft. Otherwise, it is not possible. And then we saw the meaning of Prabhudaita Samantamatulam, powerful, incomparable commanders of Sri Krishna. He says this indicate pure, perfected devotee. And in the association of such devotees who are in access, who have access to the pure internal potency of Krishna, it rubs on us also, right? So he says that this potency can flow either by the embrace of the devotee, or from the dust from the lotus feet of the devotee, or the Mahaprasad of the devotee, or instructions of the devotee. If we take shelter of any of these four things, then we can also access that very same potency gradually. So then we saw some verses which glorified the association of devotees. Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tadiyanam samarchanam. So where Lord Shiva tells to Mother Parvati in Padma Puran that of all the kinds of worship, Vishnu worship is the topmost. But if there is something which is higher than the worship of even Lord Vishnu, it is the worship of his devotees. Like that he says. So this is where I think we ended our discussion last week, and we are going to continue our discussion now. But before we start our discussion, if there are any quick discussion points, comments based on what we discussed last week and recap today, I will maybe for a few seconds we can I'll wait to see if there are any quick discussion points. There's something in the chat box. Are these distinctions of devotees such as Swanishta, Parinishthita, and Nirapeksha is based on the level of anartha or something else? No, we did discuss last week. Swanishta, of course, these terminologies have different meanings in different literatures. Baldev Bhushan defines them in a slightly different way in his Bhagavad Gita commentary, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur defines a slightly different way. A Swanishta Bhakta is one who is a householder, but who does not have the responsibility to set the right example for others by following the varnashram duties. A Parinishtita Bhakta is one, he is also a householder, he is also a sadhaka, but he does have the responsibility of setting the right example for other people by following his varnashram duties. And a Nirapeksha devotee is a Siddha, is a perfected person who has reached the stage of Bhava and Prema. So this is how it is defined. Anything else anyone would like to share, add? Okay, let's continue our discussion then. Oh, yes, Sham Kun Prabhu, after a long time. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu,
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah.
You mentioned that in this world, fighting for justice is quite glorified. And there are so many movements in which people do get fame, etc.
Yeah.
But if we take it not to that very big extent, in our dealings with others, usually because people come from different value systems, there is bound to be conflict. A person from one value system places higher value on one thing than the other. And so even say amongst devotees itself, there may be conflict, and one person will feel that he's being shortchanged by the other person. So when I take your statement that fighting for justice, can I take it this way, that a person, like each of us, commensurate to our stage of bhakti, have a sense of what is right and what is wrong. And there is a sense of need, and there is a sense of a vision of what one wants to do with what one has got in this world for himself. It may get changed over a period of time with purity and the force of time itself, the ability, the force of time. It may get purified. That's a separate aspect. But while dealing with others, in this, when circumstances arise of us of wanting justice for one's own self, commensurate to the level at which one is in, would it be appropriate that maintain the decorum, understand carefully maintain the decorum while having a discussion, or what you call a bargaining thing with the other person, like I think this is right, not right. It's effectively a bargaining thing only, but while maintaining decorum and trying to advance one's point, internally we fix that whether I get it or whether I don't get it, that is Krishna's wish. I am here to do my best, and I recognize the other person is also trying to progress, but it's just his view. He gives importance to some things, I give importance to something else. Will this be appropriate, or would you suggest a different course of action?
Yeah, definitely. Following the decorum is non-negotiable. We have to definitely follow the decorum. But beyond that, we have to see what is really at stake. What is really at stake in this whole discussion? By winning this discussion, or by successfully putting forth my point, what do I stand to gain? And is it really worth spending the time to putting forth this point and establishing, I may be, with proper decorum also, by establishing, my point very clearly and making that person understand, whether it is going to help either the bigger institution or the association of Vaishnavas, or is it just going to help that person understand my stature? Or if that is the only thing which is at stake, then probably it is not really worth, maybe even with proper decorum, having this conversation. If there is some more valuable at stake, the position of our acharyas, or the position of Srila Prabhupada, or if it's going to benefit the devotee community at large, or even one another devotee, then it's worth having a conversation. But if it is just for the purpose of helping that person understand who I am, then probably it's not a worthy thing to do, even following the proper decorum. That's what he's telling.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. That helps.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Okay, there is something in the chat box. Okay, there's a question here. How Pratishta Asha generates and nourishes hypocrisy and other forms of deceit? By serving Srila Prabhupada, by serving his mission, we can become free from Pratishta Asha, or we have to personally serve other exalted devotees. Well, definitely. Okay, I will take one question at a time, which is, how does Pratishta Asha generate and nourish hypocrisy? Because as we discussed, if we desire fame and honor, then how do we respond when we don't get it? It may sow the seeds of offense. So when it sows the seeds of offense, then following offense, all the other anarthas come. So therefore, this desire for Pratishta is dangerous actually. Because when you don't get it, right? Because Asha means what? Kama. It's a kind of Kama only. Kamat krodho bijayate. So eventually, when Kama is not fulfilled, it will lead to Krodha. And So when Krodha comes, following Krodha will, the parinam of Krodha is certainly offenses. And the parinam of offenses is a long list. Practically all the anarthas follow offenses. So therefore, if we don't nip it at the bud, then it will definitely lead to all the other offenses, or all the other anarthas coming. Second, is it sufficient that just by following, by serving in Srila Prabhupada's mission, is it sufficient? That plays a very major role, but that also ideally, if we do it under the live guidance of an advanced devotee who is more cognizant of what pleases Prabhupada more than us, then it is very, very favorable. Otherwise, we may think that this will please Prabhupada. We may be look at the activities which may please Prabhupada, but we may start, because of lack of guidance, we may actually miss out on the subtler nuances of how and in what mood that service needs to be performed so that it is actually pleasing to Prabhupada. For that, we may need live guidance of advanced devotees. So, yes, there is no doubt that we should be serving in the mission of Srila Prabhupada. That is one very important aspect of Sadatvam Sevaswa Prabhudaita Samanta Matulam. That is definitely one aspect of that. But if it is under the live guidance of an advanced devotee, then we can do it much better actually. We can be sure. Dhavan nimilyava netre naskalenna patediha. We can close our eyes and run. Okay. On this path. But if that live guidance is not there, then we may miss out on many subtler nuances which actually contribute to, which can potentially contribute to perfectly serving Prabhupada. Otherwise, we will serve Prabhupada, but we have to perfectly serve Prabhupada, and it's other senior devotees who can contribute in that direction. So there is another follow-up question. So rendering some menial services in a temple and serving under a temple president, that is also serving in Srila Prabhupada's mission. So that guidance is also enough, or personally serving an exalted devotee is a must. Well, one should actually aspire for it. Like we say, right? That's what Srila Rupa Goswami also says, right? What is that verse? Fifth verse of Manah Siksha. Fifth verse of Nectar of Instruction. About the 3 grades of devotees. What is that? How does it begin? Someone help me out? What is the beginning of that verse? Yes, Krishna, bro. Yeah, Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta dikshasti chet pranatibhishta bhajantamesham Shushrushaya bhajana vigyam ananyam anya nindadi shunya hridam ipsita sangalabdya. So, yes, following one's managerial authorities is very important for the smooth functioning of the mission. But our inner hankering we should definitely cultivate an inner hankering to serve those devotees who are Anya Nindadi Shunya Hridam Ipsita Sangalabdya. Anya Nindadi Shunya Hridam, the ones whose heart are completely free of the desire to criticize others, and those who are Bhajana Vigyam, those who are actually cognizant of the science of bhakti and are perfectly practicing it, realized in understanding the science of bhakti. So one should serve such. One should at least aspire to serve them. So aspiration is very important. Dreaming, we should dream, we should aspire. Whether we get it or not is in Krishna's hands. But in Kali Yuga, even desiring to do a good thing will yield results. What is that verse? that Sarangaiva Sarabuk Kushalani Ashu Siddhyanti Kushalani Ashu Siddhyanti Netarani. What is that? I forgot that first. So good things or positive things, just by desiring it and dreaming it, you attain it. But the bad things, you have to actually commit them. So dreaming it, dreaming for one day serving and planning for it, and whatever little opportunity we get, we may not get the association of a very advanced devotee, but we may get the association of someone who is serving an advanced devotee. So you may say, Prabhuji, I know you have this opportunity to serve this particular Maharaj. Can I help you? Okay, I will just cut some vegetables, something like that. So in that way also, we are expressing that whatever little opportunity I get, I'm willing to utilize it to serve. But it is mentioned that one should be the servant of the servant of the servant and not directly serve a pure devotee. So serving the servant of a very advanced devotee, is it enough? Yeah, definitely. In the right mood, in the right mood. If we serve the servant of the servant, he is getting to serve. So if I serve him, some, some part of my service will reach also a very exalted devotee. That is a perfect mood. That is a perfect mood. But not in the mood of, this person is easily accessible, so better, I do this. So the consciousness should also be perfect. Okay. Shall we move ahead, or is there any other discussion points before we start today's discussion? Okay, so let's continue then. So further, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is quoting verses from Srimad Bhagavatam which glorify the opportunity to serve devotees. Yat sevaya bhagavatah kutastasya madudvishah ratiraso bhavet tivrah padayor vyasanardhanah. So he says that yat sevaya, by service to the devotees, what happens? Tivrah ratirasah, intense rasa of bhava bhakti, bhagavatah, unto the Supreme Lord. And who is the Supreme Lord? Kutastasya, who is fixed in one form. It's not like us. For us, it is dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara praptir dhirastatram yati. Our body keeps changing from kaumaram, yauvanam, jara. It keeps changing. And after death, it takes a totally different form. But in the case of Krishna and the other forms of the Lord, he's kutastha. In the sense, his form does not change. Okay. Yat sevaya, by service to the devotees, Tivraha ratirasaha bhavet. One develops intense rasa of bhava bhakti towards the Supreme Lord. Okay. And padayor vyasana ardhanaha. And destruction of material suffering then takes place. Okay. So this is the secondary benefit, unsought secondary benefit. Okay. So, we don't desire it. We don't want to perform. We don't want to serve devotees so that we can escape material suffering. But this escaping from material suffering automatically happens as an unsought result of serving the devotees. But the main thing that one attains is one attains intense rasa of bhava bhakti. Yat sevaya bhagavatah kutastasya madudvishah ratiraso bhavet tivrah padayor vyasanardhanah. And then in the next verse, he says, but don't think that the opportunity to serve a devotee is very easy. He says, Durapahi alpatapasa seva vaikunta vartmasu yatropa giyate nityam devadevo janardhanah. He says, seva vaikunta vartmasu, the opportunity to serve those who are on the path to Vaikunta, yatra upagiyate nityam, who are constantly singing Deva Devo Janardanaha about the Supreme Lord, Durapahi Alpatapasa. So it is mentioned it is rarely achieved for those who perform little austerity. Of course, which means if one performs lot of austerity, will one get an opportunity to serve the great devotees? If I keep standing in one finger, just like Hiranyakashipu did, if I manage to do it for many days without eating or sleeping, will I get an opportunity to serve the devotees? No. In one sense, performing austerity has nothing to do with serving the devotees. Serving the opportunity to serve a devotees, as Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti discusses in Srimad Bhagavatam commentary, he says, Mahat Seva comes from Mahat Kripa. The opportunity to serve the devotee has to come from the compassionate, merciful nature of the devotee only. One's own austerities does not attract the mercy, the opportunity to serve the devotees. So why is this usage of the word alpa tapasa used? So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says that this is just a figure of speech. So alpa tapasa in one sense has nothing to do with tapasya. So what it just means, it is very rare. It is not very ordinary. It is not very easy to get the opportunity to serve the devotees. So that rarity is indicated by the word alpatapasa. Like I always give this example, we have many, these kind of figures of speech we have, like we say, घोड़ा बेच के सो रहा है. तो घोड़ा बेच के सो रहा है मतलब he is very carefree. He is absolutely unbothered. He is not taking any anxiety for this particular thing which actually deserves some attention, but he is very carefree, cool. But the words that are used, "Goda bech ke so raha hai," when literally translated, it means he has sold the horse and he is sleeping. Okay, so these are called as what? Idioms, right? Is this idiom? This certainly not. This is not metaphor, but is this an idiom or what is it called? Yeah, idiom. This is an idiom. Okay, it has. So similarly, Durapahi Alpatapasa is more or less like an idiom, because what is trying to be conveyed, it has nothing to do with tapasya actually. So Alpatapasa Durapa just means it's very rare. It does not indicate that by performing too much austerity, you will get an opportunity to serve the Vaishnavas. It is just a way of telling very rare to get the opportunity to serve the Vaishnavas. And the Mahat Seva comes from Satam Kripa. This is what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti says. The opportunity to serve a Vaishnava comes only from the merciful disposition of a Vaishnava. Satam Kripa is what leads to Mahaseva. So this is just an idiom which indicates that the opportunity to worship the devotees, to serve the devotees is very rare. Therefore, if you get an opportunity, don't lose it. Just serve them. Because what happens, what do you gain by getting an opportunity to serve the devotees? Yat sevaya bhagavatah kutastasya madudvishah ratiraso bhavet tivrah padayor vyasanardanaha. You have an opportunity to develop that intense bhava bhakti towards Krishna, and in developing that, automatically the material suffering also gets destroyed. So in this way, these verses are quoted by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur here in his Bhajan Darpan commentary to indicate, the means of overcoming this problem of desire for fame and glorification is to put ourselves under the tutelage and service of advanced devotees, right? So then he says, In the Chaitanya Charitamrita also Ante Leela it is mentioned. Bhaktapada Duliyar Bhaktapada Jal Bhakta Bhukta Avasheshati Namaha Bal Eitna Seva Haite Krishna Prema Hai Puna Puna Sarva Shastre Pukariya Kai Bhaktapada Duliyara Bhaktapada Jal Bhakta Bhukta Avasheshati Namaha Bal. The three very potent substance for one's progress on the path of devotional services: the foot dust of a Vaishnava, the foot wash of a Vaishnava, and the remnants of a Vaishnava, food remnants of a Vaishnava. Yaitina seva haite Krishna prema hai. So when you serve these three things, you can develop Krishna prema. Puna puna sarastre pukariya kai. So all the shastras again and again are repeated, trying to loudly declare this the importance of these three things. Srila Rupa Goswami further says in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he says, this is after describing the 64 limbs of devotional service, he says this. Yavanti Bhagavad Bhakter Angani Katitaniha Prayastavanti Tad Bhakta Bhakter Api Buddha Viduhu. He says, Yavanti Bhakter Angani, whatever limbs of devotional service, Katitani Iha, I have spoken here, Bhagavad, in relationship to the Supreme Lord, Buddha, intelligent people, Viduhu, they understand, Prayaha, almost all of them, Tavanti, almost all of them, Tad Bhakta Bhakterapi. So he says, almost all the limbs which are here of the 64 limbs that have been described to glorify, describe in relationship with Krishna, almost all of these limbs can be are they are applicable to a devotee also. So you can just like Arati ka Darshanam is one of the limbs. Seeing the Arati of a Lord, of the Supreme Lord, is one of the very important limbs of devotional. Similarly, seeing the Arati being performed to a advanced devotee is also very purifying. So like that, offering Bhoga, Naivedya Aswadanam, honoring the food remnants offered to the Supreme Lord is one of the limbs. Similarly, if you, Bhakta Bhukta Avashesha Tina Mahabal, if you honor the remnants offered to the devotees, that is also equally, or, that's also a very powerful limb of devotional service. So therefore, Srila Bhakti, in Bhakti Rasamrita, Srila Rupa Goswami says, Yavanti Bhagavad Bhakter Angani Katitaniha Prayastavanti Tad Bhakta Bhakter Api Buddha Vidu. Intelligent people understand that all these limbs are equally applicable to, almost these limbs are equally applicable to worshipping a devotee also. Like that. Srila Rupa Goswami describes how Bhava Bhakti manifests by association with pure devotees in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. How does Bhava Bhakti manifest? By association with pure devotees in, he says, Srila Rupa Goswami describes in Bhagavad Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So this is one of the verses that has been personally composed by Srila Rupa Goswami in glorifying the association of devotees. He says, Drig Ambo Bir Dautah Dautapulaka Patali Mandita Tanu Skalan Antapullo Dadatati Prutum Vepatum Api Drisho Kaksham Yavan Mamasa Purusha Kopi Upayayau Najane Kim Tavan Matiriha Trihena Viramate. He says, Yavad Drishoho, ever since I saw Drig Ambhobir Dautaha. Dautaha means washed. Drig Ambhobir. Drig is ice, Ambaha is water. Ambhobir means ever since I saw a certain person whose body was washed with his own tears, Pulaka Patali Mandita Tanuhu. Tanuhu is body, Pulaka Patali Mandita, in which his hairs are standing on end. Skalan Antaha Fullo. Antaha Fullo means Anta is heart, Fullaha means joyous. Skalan means he's tripping and falling down. Okay. He's tripping and falling down because of being overwhelmed by joyous emotions within his heart. Ati Prutum Vepatum Api. And while he is quivering to the extreme, these are all called as Satvika Bhavas, Ashta Satvika Vikaras. So, ever since I saw a certain person who was manifesting these Ashta Satvika Vikaras, Mama Matihi, my mind, na jane kim, I don't know for whatever reason, Saha Purushaha Upayayo, it has become so attached to that form of Krishna. Matiriha Grihena Biramate, that I have lost all my attachment to my own family, to my own house. Matir Iha Grihena Abiramate. So this is the potency of the opportunity to see and serve a very exalted devotee, or any devotee for that matter. Many times, many times devotees ask, Prabhu, in all these verses, if you see, it says advanced devotee. So, so the mood is, many times when people ask, yes, we are not denying the fact that the verse does mention exalted devotee, advanced devotee. But many times when we want to know that, Prabhu, it does say exalted devotee, it is just we are trying to cover up our own inability to actually respect and serve devotees who may not be very exalted. Which means there is a problem with our own, there is a problem with our own conditioning. While Rupa Goswami does say, Drishtair Swabhava Janitair Vapushashta Doshair Na Prakritatvam Iha Bhakta Janasya Pashye Gangambaso Na Kalu Budbhuta Pena Pankair Brahma Dravatvam Apagachati Nira Dharme. He says that if you see conditionings, of course, advanced devotees are not going to have conditioning, right? So we may see, but Rupa Goswami says, Na Prakritatvam. Trishtair Swabhava Janitair Vapushashcha Doshair Na Prakritatvam Iha Bhakta Pashyet. Don't even see it as material. What does it mean? Don't even see it as material. It means that you should not even think that this material conditioning will trap this devotee to this material world. It may be whatever habits he may have, right? So it is not going to trap him to this material world, because Krishna is told, Shipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigacchati kaunte pratijanehi name bhakta pranashyati. So, but many times we say that, oh, Prabhuji, it says only very advanced devotee. That does not give us the license to disrespect a not so advanced devotee. What many times we make the mistake of, so it says advanced devotee, so as long as advanced devotee is not there, I will not take association. This attitude is dangerous. Probably this attitude may cloud our vision and we may become incapable of seeing even an advanced devotee. Or we may become incapable to serve any advanced devotee, because all the while think for the association of an advanced devotee, rather than serving other devotees, I have spent all the time serving myself. Why? Because advanced devotee is not there. Na? So, because we have so much gotten into that inertia of serving myself because no advanced devotee is there, when actually the advanced devotee comes, we practically find it very difficult to get us out of that inertia, because yes, advanced devotee is there, but I forgot how to serve actually others. I forgot how to serve others. So therefore, we have to be careful. Yes, Prabhudaita Samantamaatulam, commander-in-chief devotee. These people are not even fit to be soldiers in that army. So I am supposed to serve and assist the commander-in-chief. I will wait for the commander-in-chief. You may wait for the commander-in-chief, but in doing that, forget actually the art of serving others. So therefore, yes, if a very advanced devotee is there, we serve him and take his association. If not so advanced devotees are there, we still serve them. Do we have a choice? Do we have a choice? We may not very intensely seek their association, but we do serve them, right? Otherwise, the only other choice is we will end up serving ourselves. We will not serve anyone else. So therefore, many times when we tend to focus on this pure devotee, we should rather try to focus on what is my intention in looking at that word. Is it my anemia towards serving? Am I service anemic? That is why I'm looking for a reason to not serve. So this is something that we have to see. Yes, the Shastras do indicate advanced devotees, but we can't just keep waiting for them. So, okay, there is another question here in the chat box. What is the qualification to see a devotee who exhibits the Ashtasattvika Vikar? I mean, anyone can see. It needs some qualification to understand and appreciate, right? So, because Ashtasattvika Vikaras are in one sense not very reliable symptoms of bhava, even though they are very explicitly seen symptoms, but they are not very reliable because these Ashtasattvika Vikaras can manifest due to material emotions also. So this can be seen. How many of us have actually cried watching a movie? How many of us have had very adventurous moments where our hairs have stood on end, right? How many of us have had intense grief where we could not speak, our voice choked up? How many of us have had tragic, very, very eerie experiences where we start trembling literally? So these Ashtasattvika Vikaras are spontaneous, involuntary bodily response to a very strong emotion, whether it is material or spiritual, is not a very reliable symptom of bhava. The more reliable symptoms of bhava are Kshantir Avyartakalatvam, Viraktir Manashunyata, Ashabandha Samutkanta Namagani Sadaruchi, Asaktistat Gunakyani, Preetistad Vasatistale. So these 9 symptoms are the reliable symptoms. For that, you will have to see that person over a long period of time if he is showing these symptoms. Kshantir, tolerance, the ability to tolerate. I remember once, uh, uh, His Holiness Rompad Swami Maharaj had visited Govardhaniko village, and actually he was giving a Bhagavatam class, and in that Bhagavatam class, actually I was sitting right in front, right next to his feet, lotus feet, and he was giving the class, and he gave the whole class, no problem. And after the class and after the question and session, when he got up, he told me actually, there are too many red ants and they have been biting my feet throughout the class. And actually, I saw there were so many red ants, and actually, there were red dots on his feet. He was completely tolerating it throughout the class, not even, and very, um, peacefully giving, he delivered the whole lecture, took a lot of questions, answered all the questions. And then when he got up, that's when he pointed out, there are many red ants which have been biting me throughout the class. And actually they did. And there were many red spots on his feet. So ability to tolerate, shantir, right? So this you can see over a period of time. Huh? But of course, the ability to tolerate can also come from, sattva guna, rajo guna, tamo guna, they have different things that they can tolerate. But then the next thing is avyartha kalatvam. Such a person never wastes even a single moment in any non-Krishna conscious activity. Shantir avyartha kalatvam virakti. Virakti means absolute detachment from anything of this material world. Mana shunyata, absolute humility, very humble. Viraktir mana shunyata ashabandha. So ashabandha means having full faith in receiving Krishna's mercy. Samutkanta means eagerness to serve Krishna, eagerness to receive the mercy of Krishna. Namagane sadaruchi, always having this desire to chant the holy names. Asaktistat gunakyani, and great attachment to glorifying the Lord. Pritistad vasatistale, and an intense attachment to staying in the holy dhams. So when these symptoms are there, then actually these are like reliable symptoms. Otherwise, you can see many people exhibiting ashtasattvika vikara. I mean, they are not sattvic, they are not called as sattvika vikaras, but definitely, the symptoms look very similar. Involuntary bodily response to strong emotions, whether it is spiritual or material, the involuntary bodily response looks very similar. But the 9 reliable symptoms, people cannot fake. It has to be there. If one is advanced, then it is there. Okay. Okay. Well, okay. Let's continue. So, okay, there is a question here. So when speaking of service, we mean both Vani and Vapu Seva. Yes, that is true. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that there are 4 ways the spiritual potency is transferred, and one of those ways is through devotees' instructions, right? What kind of instructions? Instructions regarding how to properly practice bhakti, or instructions regarding serving in different projects in the mission, or instructions regarding personally serving that devotee? Well, it could mean any of these things. It could mean any of these things. So, not one, it could be any of these things and all these things, any or all of these things actually. Okay, Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu Dandavat.
Dandavat
Prabhu, I had once an experience of listening to a lecture by one advanced devotee. I was so much moved by his talk that tears started coming from my eyes. But I know for sure that I am nowhere near Bhava Bhakti. But at the same time, I don't think this is material emotion, because when you listen to Bhagavatam and you're captivated by the talk, and it comes out as an involuntary action, it's not also a material emotion. What exactly it is then?
Okay. Actually, bro, there are 6-7 possible reasons for manifesting these kind of emotions. Okay. So it could be the involuntary bodily response to a material I cannot exactly tell what happened to you, but I will give you examples of each of these. First thing is, you watch a material movie, you are moved by a material emotion and it comes out. Okay, this is one way. The second thing is, you are hearing some spiritual subject matter, but it triggers some material memories and you start crying. Okay, this happened to my mother in her first Mayapur Yatra. So when she had come to the first Mayapur Yatra, that at that time, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj was speaking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking sannyas. So when he was speaking in such a moving way, and that episode is also so moving. My mother was constantly crying. But we know why she was crying. She was not crying for either Shachimata or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. She was crying for me. She was putting herself in the position of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the position of Sachimata, and she was thinking that, oh, I also lost my son just like this. He has also left me like that. She was thinking, and she was crying. So this is actually material emotion generated due to actually hearing some spiritual katha, but it has triggered some material emotions, material memories. Okay. And sometimes, this way there are many permutations and combinations, right? And one of the things is actually what the Sahajiyas actually practice to cry. So, which is a totally fake thing. And sometimes, as sadhakas, we may get a glimpse, and sometimes, okay, sometimes even mixed devotees or non-devotees, when they come in touch with very exalted, very exalted devotees, they may also cry. This is called as Ratyabhas, Chaya Ratyabhas, Pratibimba Ratyabhas. Okay, this also is a possible reason for manifestation of this vikaras. But when sadhakas exhibit these kind of vikaras, they know the siddhanta. Okay, so I'm not trying to fake it. So definitely this is not Rati Abhas. This is not, but at the same time, it is not spiritual emotions also, because spiritual emotions manifest at the stage of bhava only. Before bhava, the emotions are not yet spiritualized. So at the same time, you cannot call it material emotions also. They are they are more or less, sometimes at the stage of, there is deep regret for, our fallen state. Is that a material emotion? I mean, it sounds very awkward to call it a material emotion, but at the same time, it is not yet spiritual emotion also, because spiritual emotion is born out of the Samvit and Hladini. But before bhava, the living entity does not come in touch with the Samvit and Hladini Shakti. So you can say that these are favorable emotions. These emotions are favorable. If we can cry for our fallen state, if we can cry for Krishna, it is good. But it is not yet spiritual emotion. But this kind of crying, if we don't have to practice to cry like that. But if we can feel those emotions for Krishna, it is actually very favorable. But we should not mistake it to be the Ashta Sattvika Viras which manifest at the stage of bhava or prema, like that. Is that okay, Prabhu? Is that allowed?
Yeah, thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Okay. If there are no further discussion points, we will continue our discussion. So here he is talking about, he's quoting this verse which has been composed by Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Okay, so this brings us to the end of his Bhajan Darpan commentary. So now, as always, Bhaktivinoda Thakur more or less summarizes this what he has discussed in Bhajan Darpan in the form of his poetic commentary, which is called as Manah Siksha Bhasha. It's a poetic commentary in Bengali. Okay, we are going to discuss this. So, so we will sing and we will see the meaning. Kapatata haile dur praveshe premera pura जीवेरा हृदये दन्यकारे अतएव बहुयत्ने अनिबारे प्रेम रत्ने Kapatya rakaha ati dure. Kapata haile dura. Once deceit is cast away, praveshe premera pura. A living entity's heart becomes blessed. Sorry. Jivera hridaya dhanya kare. A living entity being's heart becomes blessed and praveshe premera pura. One enters the city of sacred love. Atayeva, therefore, bahuyatne. Therefore, take great care. Kapatya rakaha atidure. To keep this pretense far away from you. Ani bare premaratne. When you try to acquire this jewel of love, try to keep this pretense far away. Okay, because it will destroy, it will not allow you to access that premaratna. So then he says, Shuna mana niguda vachana Pratishta shadhrishta adama chandalini hriday mama yata kala karibe nartana. Shuna mana niguda vachana. Oh mind, listen to these secret words. Pratishtasha drishta adama. As long as my audacious desire for fame, Chandalini hriday mama, in the form of a fallen, low-class, dog-eating woman shall remain within my heart. Yata kale karibe nartana. As long as she dances in my heart, this low-class, dog-eating woman of desire for fame, as long as she is dancing in my heart, what happens? Kapatya tad upapati nachadibe mama mai shwapachini yaha haye dura. तदर्थे यतन करी प्रभु पृष्ठ पद धरी सेवा तुम्ही करह प्रचुर. Kapatya tad upapati. So the Pratishta Asha is the Shwapacharamani. She is like the dog-eating woman. So as long as she is dancing, her upapati will also come, her paramour. Who is the paramour of this Pratishtasha? Kapatya, deceit. Her paramour deceit, na chadibe mama mati, will not stop holding sway over my mind. Kapatya tadupapati na chadibe mama mati. Shwapachini yahe haya dura. So therefore, you should cast away the dog eater. Tadarte yatana kare. So for that you have to endeavor. Endeavor Prabhu Preshta Pada Dari. So ever to hold on to the feet of the beloved devotees. Seva Tumi Karaha Prachura. And render a lot of service. If you want to cast the dog eater away, then Prabhu Preshta Pada Dhari. Seva Tumi Karaha Prachura. Catch hold of the lotus feet of the beloved devotee of the Lord and very carefully and render lot of service. That is the meaning. Teha Prabhu Senapati Vikrama Kariya Ati Shwapachini Sanga Chadaiya Radha Krishna Prema Dhane Dibe Kabe Akinchane Bole Bhakti Vinoda Kandiya. Bhakti Vinod weeps, asking, Bole Bhakti Vinod Kandiya. When will the commander-in-chief of the Lord take me away chivalrously from the company of the dog eater and give me the treasure of the love of Radha and Krishna? So he's telling, just Mother Rukmini is praying, when will Krishna come and kidnap me from these jackals and vultures of all these kings such as Shishupal and all those people. Similarly, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is telling, I am waiting. When will the commander-in-chief of the Lord, when will the devotee come and take me away chivalrously from this woman? So here the woman is more powerful. Okay. So she is dancing within the heart. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur is waiting patiently. When will that commander-in-chief of the Lord come and take me chivalrously from the company of this dog-eating woman and give me the treasure of love for Radha and Krishna? Radha Krishna prema dane dibe kabe akinchane bole bhakti vinoda kandiya. So in this way, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is weeping and asking. So like that. So this brings us to the end of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's both Bhajan Darpan commentary and his commentary and his Manah Siksha Bhasha poetic commentary. Okay. Any quick comments, discussion points? Anything anyone would like to share ahead before we move on to Shivaram Swami Maharaj's commentary on this verse? Okay. If there is nothing, then I think we'll continue. So we will again chant this verse, because this way, when we again and again chant, we can memorize and meditate on this verse. So because we are starting a new commentary, we will again chant. Pratishta sha drishta shvapacharamani me hridinate katam sadhu prema sprishachi shutiretan nanumana sada tvam sevasva prabudayita samantamatulam yata tam nishkasya tvaritamih tam deshayati saha. So, meaning, drishta. Drishta means shameless, unchaste. As long as the shameless, unchaste Shwapacha Ramani, the dog-eating woman of Pratishtha Asha, the desire possible for Shuchir Sadhu Prema, chaste and pure lady love of Krishna, Sprushati Etad, to touch my heart. How is it possible? Nanu Mana, therefore, my dear mind, Sada Tvam Sevasva, please always serve Atulam, this incomparable Prabhu, Prabhu Daita Samantam, the beloved devotee, commander of Krishna's army, Yata Saha Tvaritam, who will come and immediately Tam Nishkasya, he will kick out this unchaste woman of Pratishtasha, Tam Veshayati, and establish the pure lady of love, Iha, in your heart. Okay. So that is the explanation. Let's see what His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj is going to describe. He says, Pratishta means fame and Asha means desire. Our desire for fame is like Drishta Shwapacharamani, a bold outcast woman. And what does this outcast woman do? She is a Shwapacha, a dog eater. So she is eating dog's flesh in my heart. That is the actual meaning here. That is the actual meaning here. And she is dancing at the same time, Priti Natet, having a great party. Dancing around in such a frivolous mood and having a great time. And in one hand is a dog's leg she is chewing on as she is dancing in my heart. But she didn't get in there by accident. I invited her in. I opened the door. So that's what here it is mentioned, that did she come without my knowledge? Did she come without my desire? He says, no, she did not come like that. You invited her. You invited her. That's what he's indicating. I invited her in. I opened the door. I said, yes, please come in. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that this is what happens after repeated attempts to weed out deceit while still hankering for honor and distinction. Okay, we might be winning, we might be trying our best to weed out this, deceit and hypocrisy, kapata kutinati. But if we are not being careful to give up this desire for honor and distinction, then it becomes very difficult. So then, along with this Pratishta Asha, her Upapati of Kutinati or Kapatata, he will also come. So it is not possible to only have desire for honor for long enough and not actually attract this Kapatata or hypocrisy or deceit. It is not possible. So such a graphic picture is being painted here of the problem. And the solution is also given. We have to serve the pure devotees of the Lord. This is the only means to drive this problem out. There is a scientific process of how the transcendental or Vishuddha Sattva potency in the heart of a pure devotee is able to penetrate our hearts. In other words, we are now dependent on mercy. So this is a very scientific process of how the Shuddha Sattva potency in the heart of the devotee, in the heart of the pure devotee, is able to penetrate our hearts. Whatever may be the means, the point is that we are now totally dependent on mercy. We couldn't do anything on our own. Now we are very much dependent on mercy from others who will actually eliminate and eradicate this problem from our heart. Desire for pratishtha, distinction, fame, honor, position, especially in spiritual circles, just hangs in there. Puja la pratishtha. This just hangs in there, especially in spiritual circles. Right? It's very tenacious, excruciatingly difficult to get out. It is the last of the enemies that we subdue. And why is it the last? Because it is the greatest obstacle. We are allowing this shameless personality to come within our heart. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says this is shameless because we don't even understand that this is a problem actually. Because we think that I deserve it, right? I deserve it. It's just, am I expecting something that I don't deserve? Right? Even the lust, anger, envy, greed, anyone can easily understand that it is a problem. And kapatata, kutinati, also one can understand that it is a problem. But this pratishta asha remains undetected. We actually don't think that it is a problem. That is where the problem comes. That is why it is called as drishta, shameless. The nature of this obstacle is that it very conveniently overlooks its own evil influence. Okay, so we don't see the evil impact. It is easier to see the evil impact of kapatata and kutinati. It is even more easy to see the evil impact of lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, and pride. But it is very difficult to identify and the evil influence, or even detect, or even consider it to be consider this pratishta asha to be evil, because I think, well, I am not expecting something that I don't deserve. So the problem is to think in terms of I deserve itself is a problem. Right? There is a clear example of this, not a nice example, but a clear one, and that is Duryodhana. So, when he was approached by Krishna after the Pandavas ended their exile, Krishna asked him, make a truce, give them 5 villages, and finish the whole thing. You cannot persecute your cousins this way. So Krishna told Duryodhana, just finish it off. Don't drag it anymore. Just give them 5 villages and make a truce. 5 villages is nothing for you. Even when Brahmanas come to beg from a Kshatriya, the Kshatriya gives one village to Brahman if there is a need. So for you to give 5 villages in charity is nothing, and they will stop the fight. You can stop all this bloodshed. Duryodhana's response was, I am a Kshatriya. I am the king of the land. I am the representative of the supreme personality of Godhead. He said, I looked in my heart very deeply for a trace of flaw, imperfection, pride, or arrogance to see if I have actually done anything against the Pandavas which was adharmic. And I have come to the conclusion that I am completely flawless in this regard. Therefore, don't push me. Don't ask me to give 5 villages. I looked in my heart very deeply for any trace of flaw, imperfection, pride, or arrogance to see if I have actually done anything against the Pandavas which was adharmic. And I have come to the conclusion that I am completely flawless in this regard. I don't have any flaw. Therefore, please don't push me. Don't ask me to give these 5 villages. Imagine completely overlooking one's own degraded and fallen position. Why? I am now pretending something that I am not. And I am so convinced that I will walk naked on the street. So Maharaj gives this famous story. Everyone knows this story of the emperor without any clothes, right? And he had his own cronies, or what do you call them? The sycophants followers, who said, yeah, your dress is so nice, so nice. They didn't want to point out. So he actually started believing it. Ultimately, he becomes so convinced of his position and his followers, and his followers are so convinced that even though he is completely naked, he thinks I have the best clothes. I'm wearing the best of all robes, the king's robes. So therefore, Maharaj says, fame is like a dog's flesh. And if you run after the flesh of a dog, it means I want to become famous as a great devotee. And this is the last thing, it is better to run after the fame of the material world than to run after the fame of wanting to be known as a very great devotee. So actually, this is very not good, right? There is a nice example from the life of Sri Madhavendra Puri. When Shir Chor Gopinath specifically stole kheer for him and sent it out via his own pujari, the Lord told the pujari, you take this sweet rice out to Madhavendra Puri. When Madhavendra Puri received that sweet rice and ate it, he thought, oh, as soon as everybody hears of this event, they are going to come after me, thinking that I am a great devotee. So immediately he ran away. Right? So therefore, it is mentioned that Pratishta Nari Sada Kumari. Pratishta, interestingly, this is just a common Hindi subhashit. Pratishta Nari Sada Kumari. This Pratishtha is compared to a Nari, not just by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, but even common understanding. So this Pratishtha Nari always remains a spinster. She never gets married because that person whom she runs after, he runs away from her. Okay. She wants to run after those who deserve that fame. But those who deserve that fame actually run away from her, like Madhavendra Puri is running away. And those who run after her, she runs away from them. Okay, there is always an eternal incompatibility. The kind of person she likes, they don't like her. And the kind of person who like her, she does not like them. So there is this eternal incompatibility. And no one wants to compromise. Both the parties don't want to compromise, right? Neither do Madhavendra Puri like people compromise and say, okay, chalega, you can, I will get married to you. Nor does this Pratishtha Nari relent and say, tika, even though you don't deserve, at least I have to get married sometime. So this is so both are relentless, both will not change their nature. So therefore she eternally remains an unmarried woman. So Madhavendra Puri received that sweet rice and ate it, and he thought, as soon as everybody hears of this event, they are going to come after me, thinking that I am a great devotee. So immediately he ran away. He left the so no one would come and recognize him or try to offer respect and praise him. That is the mentality of a real Vaishnava. Shantir Avyartha Kalatvam Viraktir Mana Shunyata. Humility. In Chaitanya Charitamrit, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, I am lower than Jagai and Madai. I am like a worm and stool. If somebody even chants my name, that person becomes fallen. Right? One should not take it literally. Oh, even Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that he cannot be wrong, right? Yes. What cannot be wrong is the emotions that he is, he is displaying the symptoms of pure, perfected devotional service. Those emotions are real. We cannot take those words. The words are not real. That episode is not meant to evaluate the words of Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, but it is meant to evaluate the pure emotions of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So he is thinking like that because that's what it means to be a real Vaishnava. He is not just writing it, but actually thinks and feels it. This image here in this verse is this shameless prostitute, a dog flesh eating prostitute dancing in the heart, but she is not alone. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in his song commentary, who does she dance with? She dances with her lover. And what's her lover's name? Kapatya tad upapati. Deceit is her paramour. So when this desire for name fame comes, then automatically deceit comes. Because when you cannot get that name fame in a straightforward way, then you start doing some deceitful things. So if you cannot show that you are the best, then you make some tweak, you make some cheating things so that others, so at least by that, people think that you are great. Okay. So therefore, if this desire for fame is there, then it is just a question of time before that dog-eating woman will attract her paramour with this cheating propensity, deceit. If we cannot give that, because we cannot always be the best. So, but how to show that we are the best? By cheating. And then it becomes very sad, actually. Very sad. When people find that out, actually we deserve better. But we get so carried away by this desire for fame that for a moment we stoop to a very low level, and when we get caught, then it becomes such a disgrace. Actually, we don't deserve that disgrace. We just got carried away. We are not we may not be that kind of habitual cheaters, but just that the desire for fame just carried us away, and we end up doing this cheating. But when you get caught, what you deserve actually as a devotee, we will end up getting much worse than that. And it is sad. It is actually sad. So therefore we have to address this pratishta asha, this desire to serve, this desire for name, fame, glorification. It's not good. So upapati. So the upapati will follow. After the party, they are all in for the evening. And what is the byproduct? Naturally, they start to beget children such as himsa, violence, ill will, and all these. Ultimately, eventually, it leads to himsa, violence, ill will. Violence and ill will become a byproduct of that little party in the heart. The upapati and this pratishtha shwapacha ramani, they unite and give birth to himsa. They start committing violence to others because they have to, people have to see that they are very great, and unless they pull others down by committing some violence, how is it possible? And we enter into where have we come to? We actually make tangible progress because we are not able to give up this desire for name, fame, glorification. Gradually, all that we had conquered starts haunting us back again. So therefore, the only solution is we have to put ourselves under the tutelage of an advanced devotee, under the mercy of an advanced devotee. So, and serve that devotee so that this desire for name, fame, glorification will go away. So when this goes away, even if some lust, anger, envy, greed, illusion, pride is there, it is much more easy to get rid of that. Therefore, ultimately, this dance of the prostitute and her lover will destroy all the good virtues in the heart and will fill the heart with cruelty, and one will become a cruel-hearted person. One has to be very careful to not allow these things to remain. Therefore, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, better that I am in the association of those who are pointing out my faults and helping me maintain a humble attitude than to be with those who praise me. So it is better to be with those persons who are pointing out my faults in a genuine way. In a genuine way. But of course, not in a way that demotivates you. Of course, not in a way that demotivates you. So That is very important. So it is better to remain in the association of those who are pointing out my faults and helping me to maintain a humble attitude. That it should come in the form of help. It should actually help us. So we should not take this position. Oh, look, I am doing you so much good by pointing out your faults and keeping you humble. We should not take that position. Rather, we should always be in the association of more advanced devotees who are actually perceptive of what we are going through and can rightly point out in a way that actually helps us inspired to overcome that problem, than to be in the association of uh, you know mm, bootlickers, or you can say like sycophants who will just keep on glorifying you for whatever you do. Mm. So then it's a very unfortunate position actually. So one should be in the association of um, mm, Tajatiya Ashe Snigde Sadhu Sanga Swatovare. Like-minded, affectionate, more advanced devotees who can rightly point out the mistakes in a way that you really feel inspired to improve. And we should not take that position just like that. Oh, I am helping him. How does it matter when I just trashed him and he is feeling very bad, but still I am trying to help him only, no? Yeah. We cannot take like that. We cannot take that position like that. It is important to do the right thing and leave the right impression. Otherwise, we may just keep patting our backs thinking, I tried to do the right thing. I tried to do the right thing. I had the right intention. But the right intention was there, but uh, we didn't leave the right impression. It is important to do the right thing and leave the right impression. Otherwise, we will also be illusioned. We will also be under the illusion that I am trying to do the right thing. So we don't necessarily have to take that position of pointing out the faults of others. For that, we should ensure that we are like-minded, we have genuine affection, and we are genuinely um, interested in the welfare of that other person. How do we know that we are genuinely interested in the welfare of the other person? Then we will be very much conscious and concerned about whether the help that I am trying to render to that person is making him progress more or suffer more. So if it's making him suffer more and still we are attached to it, then we have to see what is my intention here. Is my intention to help or what? That we have to really think. So even though, yes, Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur does say, better that I am the association of those who are pointing out my faults and helping me maintain a humble attitude than to be with those who praise me. We don't want to cover ourselves with people who already always praise us. But at the same time, the point is we should cover ourselves with people who are not necessarily fault finders, but they are genuinely interested in my welfare. And when we become those fault finders, then we have to be very careful that when I do this act of pointing out that person's fault, it actually has the desired effect of enhancing his uh, mm, morale, enhancing um, his actually enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness, rather than demotivating that person. Then it is not very favorable. So yeah. So Now we refer once again to these three sadhakas. Okay, now he is going to discuss about, how these three types of sadhakas, the desire for fame can manifest in the Swanishta, Parinishthita and the Nirapeksha sadhakas. That he is going to discuss. We have many more slides, but at this point of time, I will just pause for a few seconds to see if there are any quick discussion points, comments, because we have another 3 minutes left. Let me just wait and see if there are any things, because this is a slightly long topic that we are going to discuss now. If there is anything anyone might want to share, then we'll pause. If there is nothing, then I think we will end our discussion here. I will let you go 2 minutes early today so that you can have an early rest and, wake up early tomorrow. Thank you very much for your patient listening and your enthusiastic participation. So we will pause here and continue this discussion next Tuesday. And Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Pad ki jai, Srila Shivaram Swami Maharaj ki jai, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami Pad ki jai, Shri Manah Siksha ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.